Namaste viewers, welcome to Jaipur Dialogue USA and Jaipur Dialogue today. Uh, I deeply apologize for this really remarkable, unfortunate delay that has happened. So please accept my profound apology and with the promise that this will never happen again. Uh, Having said that, let's straightway dive into the subject matter that today we have the wonderful pleasure of having Rajiv Malhotra ji and Vijaya ji, who have written an outstanding book, Snakes in the Ganga. Thanks to technology, we are able to see the book, read the book on Kindle, even though Amazon is not selling it as yet. Having said that, it has been a wonderful experience. Both Rajiv ji and Vijay ji have been on innumerable shows and TV dialogues telling what the book is all about. And it is real pleasure to have read significant portions of that book and discuss them in live. Let's jump into another topic. I believe in that we have now acquired significant knowledge and wisdom and information as to what's going on. And my favorite theme is if knowledge and information we are not able to use it to correct the wrong, then it remains idle. So Rajiv ji, I will straight drive into this. Where do we
Can
go
I
from
can
here?
I can I make a correction before you dive?
Please.
I think viewers will get the impression that they cannot buy the book, which is not true.
No, no,
You
no. They
go
can buy
to
the book. There
No,
are
but let me
Ganga
just say it. Let
publication
me
and
just
others are there. Yes.
let me, if I may, if you will let me
Please, please.
please, let me tell them how to buy the book because they
Okay.
need to know. So you
Yes.
just go to rajivmalhotra.com. You can go to you can go to rajivmalhotra.com, and all my books are for sale. There is a link there, and you can buy it. You can buy the Kindle, you can buy the hard copy, you can buy it in India, you can buy it in USA. So there's no problem. There's plenty of stock
Good.
everywhere. So don't. I just want to plug the book how to buy it. I think
Good.
people should know.
Good. Thank you very much because there was a confusion at some point in time, but now we are clear about that. So
Yeah.
thank you very much. Let's dive into the subject matter. One of the things which emerges after reading your book is that the barbarians at the gate, as you very correctly say it, they have been active in India against us for a very, very long time. While we have been sitting idle or just like lotus eaters, that everything will become fine. One thing which I was very upset about, and what I do see this, is that there is a continuous effort to dehumanize us Hindus. The dehumanizing part of it is really dangerous because we are the most peaceful, prosperous, professional community in the world, not a law and order problem anywhere. Yet we are being attacked. Where do we go from here? How do we contest that?
So I want to focus on the problems within our own community rather than blaming others. Because I want to focus on the fact that it's very difficult to get traction and support from our own community. I've been at it for 30 years. Vijaya has joined me several years ago, and she's an amazing partner in this. We really work very hard. We put all we got, tan, man, dhan, into this. And so I feel that the Hindu community's lack of support is the key problem. And maybe you could even argue that in a competitive world, losers don't deserve to survive. Losers will be wiped out, and maybe just as well, because if they cannot stand up and appreciate their dharma, their tradition, and they're selfish, they're getting so much out of their mother culture, and they're not willing to give back, and they just want to play it safe and be in their comfort zone and benefit from other people's work and not put in their own effort and not put in their own resources. Then maybe they're having a free ride, and such a culture, such a civilization will not survive. Maybe others will take the knowledge, digest it into Western ideas, Chinese ideas, Islamic ideas, take away parts of Hindu culture and turn it into other things, and that maybe it will survive in that way. So if Hindu culture is to survive, if Hindu ideas and faith is to survive within the practicing people, then they have to shape up, and they haven't shaped up. So I will give you several type of reasons, several type of categories of problems. There are those who are very involved, but they plagiarize the work. Like to this morning, some guy is doing some seminar about an hour ago in Ahmedabad on woke, and he actually hosted me. He recorded me, did interviews with me in his university. I spent for 3 days there, and now with no reference to us, he's just become the woke expert. So you see, the same thing has happened with all our books. Rather than encouraging the pioneers and backing them, everybody with the minimum amount of effort wants to get maximum amount of benefit for their own ego, and so that's a problem. Second problem we have is when a person sticks their neck out. When a person sticks their neck out for the community, they are taking a risk, and they will be hit, because the opponents will only hit those that are important leaders from our side. They're not going to hit those who are hiding or who are unimportant. So the more important you are, the more pioneering you are, the more you're going to be attacked. When you are attacked, it is a job and the duty of our community to support such people. But I don't get support. When I stick my neck out for and get attacked, maybe 2% of the people who are following me support, the other 98% run away. And some of them join the other side because it's more fun to poke fun, to criticize and bring somebody down. So that's a lack of character of our own people. Third, I will tell you, the people who are privately Hindu, they will privately tell me a lot of good things, wo bada acha kar rahe and all, but publicly they will not, they don't want to risk anything, they don't want to spend their political capital. And then finally, there are those who are secularized, so who are so confused. They don't, while they may celebrate Diwali and they have Hindu names and all that ritualistically, but they don't understand what's important about protecting our dharma in this Kurukshetra. So I've given you 4 kinds of people that I have observed over the past 30 years. And therefore, I think that when you say what's the way forward, I think the way forward is to look inside our community, take these people to task, and not just say, okay, everything is well inside our community and be pointing out because we got so many people in NASA and so many people in Silicon Valley. Let me tell you, I've been to Silicon Valley, and the number of people who are willing to stick their neck out within their company, and I don't want to name the companies because I have a lot of friends there, is like 5% of the Hindus. Maybe that, maybe not even that. Another 10-15% will come to you privately to a dinner and tell you some nice things, but they will not go public. And the rest of them will come up with all kind of excuses why they don't want to help, they don't want to get involved, it's not their job, there is no problem, maybe the other side is correct, maybe it's our fault, all kind of BS. And so until you can tackle the problem of the Hindus internally, there is no hope to go and win the war externally. That's my position.
That's a very profound statement and a very
You should give your-
stern warning for our own survival. Vijayaji, taking the cue from what Rajiv ji has said, that internal reform, and I personally believe that if we want to change, then we got to be the change masters. What will inspire? Reading Panchatantra again? Why not?
I don't know if we should. There's no time for getting inspiration. There's just time for action now. Now,
Yes.
when wokeism hit America, American intellectuals had gone back and are looking very, very critically at what went wrong. And one of the things that they're finding is that they have, they say that when the Marxists realized that communism has failed, they wanted to reinvent themselves, and what they ended up doing was 40-50 years ago they went into academia, and they said that the main problem why Marxism didn't survive was this problem of reproduction, in the sense that the dominant communities or structures, whether it be it family or institutions, are able to reproduce themselves and their values from one generation to another. And the way you break the reproduction is by getting into education. So what they quickly did was they went into education, and the past 4 decades they've been penetrating higher education and then K to 12, all of that very, very systematically. So I think what we can learn from the Marxists is the urgent need of the hour is to reform education and save the younger generation. So I think I would look at the NEP, I would look at the education policy, I would look at education systems, I would look at our textbooks, NCRT, all of that, and work towards reforming that so that at least the next generation is saved. So this is not cleaning up the poison, but at least the next generation has an antidote to the poison. So, we do that simultaneously as we are cleaning up the poison. So that would be my action oriented approach to solving this.
That's very much required. I mean, I recall on Jaipur Dialogue itself, there was one participant had said that even though communists don't rule in various parts of the world, but they have entered the minds of everybody through capturing the education platform, and that's where we say the wokism has a reason. So, Rajiv ji, how do we? This is a long-term process. But there is, as they say, that as a management consultant, which you are very familiar with, things have to be attended to. I'm driven by action. Knowing what I know now, what can I do in the short term, immediate term, medium term, and long term? Education reform will require battle royal because those people are entrenched. We are lotus eaters. Sab theek ho jayega mentality. How will you attend that in the short term, in the immediate term?
Well, it depends on who we is. I mean, if we are the authors, we are attending to it by writing books and spreading awareness so more and more people know. And if by we mean the readers and the viewers, they should be promoting our book. We are going to have a paperback edition, and we're going to go back to India. We're working really hard, very hard. So the viewers and the people who are influencers on YouTube's and so on should be retweeting and promoting our stuff, having like you're doing. You're helping us promote our ideas. You're a force multiplier. You are using the platform of Jaipur Dialogue to make more people aware of us. And you've talked about, we probably do some events in Long Island, in New York, and so if the we are those who are watching, viewing, who are concerned, should be actually helping. Anytime an important breakthrough work like this is done with so much effort and so much impact, they should be helping us. So that is the second kind of we. The third kind of we are authorities in power. I think they need to take I'm talking about Hindus. I'm talking about people in Hindu organizations. Whether it is the NAP, why wasn't the NAP staffed with competent people? I'm sure they had some good people, but none of us were involved. None of us were brought in, and we are studying these topics. I mean, we are brought in on the fringes. Okay, you can go out online and give your ideas. Who wants to do that? I mean, why should we be sitting on the back seat and giving ideas to some other people who are not so competent and not so smart, and then they get to recycle it and refurbish it in their own words and put it forward? Intelligent people and competent people don't like to report to incompetent people. And what you have is a structure. As a management consultant, I'm telling you, one of the things you should advise such a client is that the pyramid of power and structure, if you got incompetent people at the top and you have your smart people below because you're scared of them, or you don't want to give them too much limelight, and you want a old boys network and insiders who are loyal to you and they look after each other. If the plum positions and are given to on that basis, not on a meritocracy, then the people who really know a whole lot are not going to be happy. They're not going to work for incompetent bosses. So we are not looking for posts, we're not looking for jobs, we're not looking for any of that. But in terms of influence, in terms of having influence to shape policy, none of us had any of that. Okay, now any number of offers and calls came ke aap fulane ji ko bata do, but every time I spoke to somebody on the NEP committee, I found them to be such uninformed that I would have to coach a person from starting point, educate them on what the issues are. Before we can solve the issues, we have to educate them on what the issues are. They're so unread. They have very little real world experience of going out of their comfort zone and engaging these forces, negative forces. So if such people are put in charge, whether it is culture ministry, whether it is Indian Council of Cultural Relations, whether it is NEP policy or whatever, then the point is the real responsibility lies with people who select such folks, not on merit, but on who are the insiders and who have been around for a very long time and who got a lot of friends and so on. That, I think, is a very serious problem. So I've given you three answers. If we are the authors, we are already doing our job. We can do more. We would like to. If we are people like you and others who have influence, then what you can do is to use your influence to spread our knowledge, spread the impact of our book. But if the we you're addressing are authorities that have the ability to create committees, create organizations, create various kinds of advisors. They should be very they have to bring in competent people, and they cannot keep the competent people outside and say, okay, they should keep helping us over, they should throw over the fence whatever they have to say, and we will catch it and represent it on their behalf. That doesn't work.
It will not work. It will absolutely not work. And it is fascinating to hear you echo my thoughts, which I always say, that all problems have to be attended to in the immediate term, medium term, and long term. Likewise, I always say that we all need to work individually, collectively, and create institutions to support our agenda. So, Vijaya ji, you are in the world of academics, and you have done an awesome work in this. Rajiv ji was mentioning about Niti Aayog, say, for example, an institution, which is full of, it would appear that they are full of wokist people. And one of the challenges that the world is facing right now is that the woke people who have studied in schools and colleges in a wokistani atmosphere, they are now in the position of power. They are not listening. They are the real snake in the Ganga, whether it's in India or here. How do you deal with that scenario, particularly, which is what is a worrisome factor, is that those people choose to attack you and I individually. A Nupur Sharma here, a Tiwari there, or Elon Musk there, or Rajiv Malhotra there, Vijaya Lakshmi here, or Vibhuti Jai here. We are immediately branded and attacked individually. Where is the collective response to protect you and I? How do we deal with
there
it?
are some things you can learn from the US. In fact, when these woke issues started simmering in educational institutions, the group that actually made a difference were mothers. So if you look at the case of Virginia, the school district, the mothers all got together and said these kinds of books should not be allowed into the library. The use of non-gendered bathrooms. There was a kid that got raped in one of the female designated restrooms. So things like that. So the mothers got together and fought with the school boards, and that movement had so much power to change the discourse. In fact, the gubernatorial elections in Virginia was essentially won by the Republican candidate because of the mothers getting together. So it was a grassroots movement. And I think the more Indian, the Aam Aadmi, the regular Indian, gets to know of these and collectively protests against these policies, then there'll definitely be change. For example, we've brought out the issue of the IITs. So there are many families that are spending their time, their money in and sacrificing so much to get their kids into the IIT. And now our Chief Justice wants to redefine merit, right? So these are big issues that affect the ordinary Indian family. And so, like how we have in America, where parents take charge, and mothers especially, who are vested in their children's education, they they've started a tremendous movement. So we can learn from these sort of parent groups in America, and similarly maybe in India too. We can have these grassroots movements that will oppose the existing policies that the government is thinking of.
That's very true. Mothers have a big role to play in the children welfare, and that is one institution that somewhere along the line America is fighting for very strongly. Whether it's a soccer mom or moms in PTAs and others, I have been asking every single Indian family in the US, get active in your community. Participate begins with PTA, and that's a very heartening thing to know. But Rajiv ji, you talked about a digital caste system which is emerging here now in America, and many technology companies have GDP larger than many nations in the world around us. Please tell us about the way things are happening in the world of technology, where Indians are playing a big role. How is the digitized caste system? You came up with that term with that, because it's important for us to understand, the viewers to understand.
See, if you look at the First of all, I want to separate Varna Jati from caste.
Yes.
Caste is sort of a different construct. So once you accept that there is in reality a caste system now, different from Varna Jati used to be the case. So if you think of castes as sort of different groups looking after themselves more than each other, they have they have a symbiotic relationship also each with each other, but there is parochialism more internally. And then there is a vulnerability that this becomes hierarchical with people giving themselves more privilege. When you look at it in that sense, today it is not that people who are Brahmins by birth and all that are at the top of power. In fact, I would say the Vaishya community, who are the industrialists, got more power. They are the ones who decide which Brahmin they'll support, and even the gurus are at the mercy of the Vaishya, the business class. So the traditional hierarchy, which is accused of being oppressive and so on, is not even relevant today.
Mhm.
So today it is the digital caste system is a term I've coined because I feel that the digital economy, the digital platforms decide who has what power. So Vijaya talked about the means of reproduction of systems and structures and abuse and cultural capital and so on. So now, if you look at, if Twitter wants and Facebook wants and YouTube wants, they can deplatform me. They can deplatform you and Jaipur Dialogues if they want, or they can promote you more or less. They can, So all of these games are being played. These are commercial games and they are ideological games. I've been a victim to it. Vijaya knows we did some very innovative, YouTube videos on ivermectin and the whole COVID thing. And within 48 hours, we got 2 million views. And then we got a message from YouTube saying, bring it down. Otherwise, we'll block your whole channel. We've had this many times. You use the word swastika, or you try to promote Ayurveda, and things of that sort, and you will be those things will be downgraded. So this is a digital caste system. There are some people who are at the top of the pyramid who own the algorithms. These algorithms are all artificial intelligence based, and they require massive computing power. And the big data that trains these algorithms, just like a child is trained by the environment that their child is in, these algorithms keep becoming smarter based on the big data they get. So they have more and more experience. All of this is controlled by China and the US corporates. The American big tech and control a lot. American government also, Pentagon, CIA, they also got all this. And then China got it. Europe is the next thing in line. India is way behind. India does not control this. So in this new digital caste system of power, India is a colonized. India is again, we are not there at the top. Now we are very proud. We due to a foolish policy that we got so many tech engineers, so many AI engineers, and we got so many coaching classes, and we are training these people, and they're getting jobs with Americans. What we don't realize is that selling the best brains of India to Microsoft India and Amazon India and Apple India and Google India, all the Indian subsidiaries, and to sell them indirectly through the outsourcing companies that people set up, does not mean that the technology is owned by India. The technology is not Indian. The brains are Indian, but they are working for somebody else. It's like the example I give is like, if you have some village people from Bihar, some poor village people who come and become construction workers in Delhi. I mean, they can write home that I'm getting a good salary. I'm making this big house. I'm driving a crane, or I'm driving this or that machine. They can write, and back home, they compared to the people back home, they're doing better. But at the end of the construction job, they have no equity in anything. They don't own the building. They have zero capital. They just got some income, cash flow, and they can live a good life, middle class life. So it is good we have created a new middle class using technology and educating people. But these people don't own the capital. Capital is owned by the Western owners of who hired them. So what we have done is to supply construction workers to the Bill Gates and the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Jeff Bezos of the world. And so it's a system of a kind of exploitation. You can't say exploitation because these people are making good salaries. But so also the Bihari laborer who comes to Delhi makes more salary than his village friends. He makes more salary. But it's not necessarily good for the village economy. All they are doing is sending money back to the village, which is good to feed them. Similarly, these tech workers sending money back home, and the Indian government is very happy. It's a source of foreign exchange. But why didn't we use these brains to create our own technology? This is what China did differently. So China also had to use cheap labor to get money, and they started making factories and offering these factories at low cost to the Westerners to come and set up manufacturing. But what they did is they learned how these factories work, what is the latest engineering, what is the manufacturing technology. They kept a parallel economy going where they're learning from the Americans running these factories. So whatever Apple is doing, Chinese are replicating and doing it also. So they are creating a parallel where they are owning the technology themselves. So whereas in India, we learn, our people have built so many apps because they're hired by all these companies that are building apps. But why aren't there Indian apps among the top 10 in the world? Why is it that when you go to the App Store and you look at the top 10 apps by market revenue, whatever, you do not see that 4 or 5 of them happen to be Indian, even though 4 or 5 of the tech engineers in the world happen to be Indian tech engineers. So we have bad policy. This is a policy mistake by the NASSCOM, which is the Association of Software and Services in India, and it is FICCI. And the blame goes to the industrialists, it goes to Niti Aayog, it goes to the ministries, it goes to all sorts of people. And this is not this government or past government. These policies have been there for a quarter century since I've been around in this area, since 35 years, I can tell you. So the digital caste system is the result of bad policies where the ownership belongs to certain people who are very smart. In the middle tier, below the owners, are the tech workers. They are sort of like a new bourgeoisie, if you will. They are sort of the middle class who are controlling the instruments and the means of production. They're the factory managers, but they don't own the factories. They manage the factories. See, so this is how it's like a multi-tier structure. And below that are the consumers who are in old tech and old jobs that will be obsolete soon, and they'll probably be out of work. A lot of people will be out of work. A lot of unemployment will happen in the world because of this new technology. So I see a digital caste system because of this thing happening. Added to this is a new phenomenon, and that is what we mentioned in the conclusion of the book. And this is a new phenomenon started by Harvard Kennedy School and World Economic Forum. And this is about ESG and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this is about what very fashionable impact investing. I have a lot of friends whose kids are into impact investing. I have a lot of friends who themselves are into it. It's very, very fashionable. But I'll tell you, what is the definition of social impact is controlled by social models that are not Indian. It is not Indian sociology that is deciding. It is not a Vedic idea of social impact. It is a Western concept of what is the theories of society, social theories that are being promulgated and maximized and optimized are Western theories. So the ESG, the whole concept of sustainability and the concept of social justice and governance, etc., is not something that is set up in Banaras or Tirupati or Delhi or any Bombay or anything. It's set up in Western places, and then the Indians are being sucked into this. So we have a lot to say, by the way. I mean, we have touched upon in this very big book, Snakes in the Ganga, is just the tip of the iceberg, because we are going to produce a lot more on all of these problems, and then you begin to see the very serious nature of this digital caste system and this digital recolonization of the world.
And I'd just like to add one more thing to
Please.
what Rajiv ji said. Not only is there a digital caste system, we are actively feeding this digital caste system with a lot of data. So whether it's Omidyar network with social impact investing in India, whether it's Ashoka and Kriya University actively mining data of 10,000 villages in Tamil Nadu, or the entire Indian polity by Ashoka through the Trivedi Center, and all this data is being hosted overseas, by foreign universities. So the data is essentially the new oil, the new gold, and this reinforces the digital caste system, because you have tons of data, where how and they can map you using this data, and reinforce caste structures, or the digital caste system in a very effective way in the future.
So I think to take it even further, yesterday I went for a holiday party here in New Jersey. Desis, about I would say 20 of them, and you can say they are the sort of the elites of Princeton, the Indian people. And so sitting next to me was a very nice man, very similar to my age, very gentle man, very decent fellow. We're good friends. So we're talking about kids and our kids and all. So he's telling me very proudly that his daughter is now CEO of this new company in India, funded by Gates Foundation and various other Americans. And he says very proudly that her job is to collect data, do lot of data gathering, and this will help Indian society. I said, do you know, have you read my book? And there are a lot of issues with this. He said, no, I understand. But this is different, These people are only about alleviating poverty, and they are all about social impact. I said, those are just nice words. But social impact and alleviating poverty means what? Who owns the data? Have you looked at? All this data is being collected. It's going to foreign countries for algorithm development. And then who owns those algorithms? Do you have the source code? Do you own the algorithms, or somebody else owns it? He says, no, these are all good people. My daughter has met all of them. They are always helping us, and we should be generous to them. They're being generous to us. So what I'm trying to tell you, this is a very educated man. He's on the board of many companies in the United States. People in India would say, we got so many Hindus who are board members of this and CEOs of that. Well, he's been CEO of a lot of these big companies in the United States. He happens to be in pharmaceuticals. But basically, completely zero in understanding these issues and not even interested in listening. I said, listen, I would love to have a conference call with your daughter. She'll understand me. She may not agree with me, but she'll quickly get it. And I would love to have you on the conversation, so at least you can be informed. They're not interested in that. This sort of like, I'm spoiling the party. It's a nice party going on. We're celebrating. All these guys have come, and somebody brought some very fancy whiskey from somewhere, and somebody got this rare wine, and everybody's toast, yeah, oh, ha. And this guy talking about this stuff, he's kind of spoiling it. That is our community, my friend. It is not what they sit in India and say, we got so many percent of NASA and so many percent of this and that. That is all statistics, but statistics don't tell you the caliber of these people in terms of their loyalty or disloyalty to their tradition, in terms of their interest in even understanding these issues. I'm saying that they do not even have the faculty to pay attention to understand these issues. They are in between, eat this samosa and have this drink and batai, what were you saying? That kind of a thing. I feel it's insulting. I don't even want to talk to such people, because I think they have no genuine respect for such knowledge. But they are the ones who are paraded and promoted as the big shots of our community, and they go everywhere. And so this Pravasi Divas celebrates these people. They get all these awards. So we are in serious trouble, because the people who've been hoisted as the exemplars of our society are really completely out of touch. And not only the people in some government and some other Hindu organizations. I'm talking about, these are top technocrats and top corporate people and top entrepreneurs, and who are very proud of being Indians. They're very proud of being Indians, by the way, but they have zero interest in understanding these kind of things. And the guy would never even want me to talk to his daughter after I told him that, listen, I'll convince her that this working for these Gates. And I said, he's from pharma. So I said, the Gates and the Chinese are the largest collectors of DNA. In seed DNA, farming DNA, human DNA, they're the largest. And these DNA, these genetics, this is the building the new algorithms. The new machines will be biotech machines. There'll be algorithms in organic material even. And so these things will make new kinds of systems, new kinds of industries in the future. And so today they are data harvesting, and the kind of venture your daughter has. There are many such ventures all over India, and they are getting smart people to do all this work for them. And obviously they're paying your daughter very well, and she's doing very well, and she comes to United States on trips, flies first class, and they look after her, obviously. But what is the long-term impact of this on the civilizational imbalance between the haves and have-nots? Our people, I tell you, raising this kind of a conversation at a dinner table, I'm going to be outcast. I already am.
You are not alone. Many of us are. So, because we like to raise the true issues which are there. So, which is important. This also brings to one more aspect. But before I go there, I want to make some requests to viewers. Please like, subscribe, support our channel, because we are the truth tellers. We want to confront real questions. If you want to arrive at the real solution, then you have to approach the issue with a serious intent. You don't cure cancer with Tylenol. That's what is important here. So that's what is, we have to configure that out. One of the things which I'm a believer in, Vijayaji, I'll come to you with that inquiry, is the fact that narrative building is key. Somewhere along the line, the Indian mind, the Hindu mind, the Sanatani mind is colonized. We can't think differently. And Rajiv ji gave the example of his same age guy unwilling to listen to his request to even have a conversation. And we now know, as you said it in your book, about the what is called the news initiative, the trusted news initiative. What a word, trusted news initiative. To basically capture our mind with a narrative building. How do we change that? And tragically enough, the Hindu of Tamil Nadu, Chennai, is one of the members of TNI. Think about it like this, which gives us Hindus a bad name. So, we are done this way, we are done that way. The question is, how do we advance from here now? The narrative building. You are doing a great job with the book. This is what is important for us to take the next step in the immediate term. Viewers, if you have questions, please ask. Rajiv ji has to leave at 11:30. I will humbly request Vijaya ji to participate in the Q&A which are there and continue the conversation even after 11:30 because we started late, and my apologies for that. Would you consent to that, Vijaya ji?
Oh, absolutely. No problem.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think as far as narrative building is concerned, I think this is affecting even the West. The conservatives world over have suddenly woken up to the fact that their institutions are lost, and they've lost the education systems, the institutions. So I think Rajiv ji has begun a process of trying to reach out to conservatives all over the world. And Rajiv, do you want to talk about some of the things that, because you're going to be leaving soon? Maybe.
Vijay is absolutely right. We're building bridges with some conservatives in the United States, but I should also tell you, although it's too early to say it, I've been approached by some folks in Pakistan, and I'm probably going to have my first discussion with them online tomorrow. These are people who, believe it or not, I mean, I'm quite happy about this. There are people in Pakistan who have had it with this stuff also. They are Muslims, but they feel that there ought to be reform. They are challenging the government. I don't know how successful they might be. They're challenging the government. They're challenging wokism. They're very interested in good relations with people like us. So I'm reaching out to people of various kinds who are open to conversation. Basically the biggest problem we have is cancel culture. We're just easy to boycott us. And when they say that there are structures of abuse that are perpetuated generation to generation, the cancel culture practiced by big media, big social media and general media, by big academics and by big think tanks, and all of them network with each other. That is the oppression. That is the narrative building which is oppressive. So if you want to really dismantle the narratives of oppression, those are the narratives. Those are the structures you have to dismantle. So I think that we are doing our best, reaching out. Not only, I mean, we're trying with all the Hindus we can, but I'm also interested in building bridges with non-Hindus. I also have some friends who are Christians, who are one famous person at Harvard who wants to take this further, who wants that he and I will have a conversation at Harvard Divinity School. I want Vijay also to join next time, and we'll bring in other people because he feels that there is a lot in common between serious Christians and Hindus in taking on this new kind of social sciences of the West. So I think we need to build bridges with everybody from whatever background who wants to become an intellectual in a truly free sense, and I am willing to, while I practice Hindu dharma very openly and proudly, but I'm more than happy to be discussing with other people, sharing with them the merits of their traditions, learning from each other, and being very honest about it. I think we need to create a new relationships and new friendships now in order to move forward. We cannot just sit there as Hindus, Orthodox Hindus, sitting there defending ourselves, hating everybody else. I think that's not going to win.
You're right. I mean, it's called the community. We have to build the community of supporters. And you talked about Christians who are the right wing people. I always say that in a joke and a mirth, that sometimes I feel that Republicans and conservatives represent Hindus well. We know how to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. So even though we are on the right track, our values, our virtues are correct, we haven't built a community, allies. That's important. You can't win everything alone. And to draw the analogy from sports, 11 players in the field, tomorrow there will be a World Cup final. 11 players have different roles to do of the team. And as you said, you are spreading knowledge and information. We are the aggregators or disseminators. And then there are people who will have to take this forward. So, Rajivji, thank you very much for joining. And I sincerely apologize for the delay that happened today.
So what I can do,
Yes.
is I can stay a few more minutes because my other thing is they just inform me it's a little late. I can
Lucky
stay a
me.
few more minutes. So those questions that are for me, I can take them before I leave, and then you can continue the discussion.
Okay, let's go back to some of the questions that have come about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Vignesh Patil is asking, thank you, Vignesh. I'm building a tech ecosystem for Dharma ideas. Obviously, he's looking at you for help.
Well, I keep getting a whole lot of these messages where a lot of people are saying this. I don't have any details on what he's building, uh, and sometimes I have been part of AI systems that are for dharma, all kind of initiatives. The thing is that these are had need scale of funding. They need scale of funding. They need survival, long term survival. Uh, uh, so just because somebody comes up with an idea, gets up in the morning and says, I'm building a tech ecosystem for dharma, just based on that statement, it doesn't mean a whole lot. I mean, I would encourage him to develop it into do a demo, so something is demonstrable. That always gets credibility. Turn it into a proper business plan, and not try to underestimate how much challenge and how much money it'll take. It's like a startup. It'll have, and he'll need to go get some funding, and once he takes it to that point, then we can talk.
The second question is from Rocky for you, especially Rajivji. Rajiv, sir, for previous time, please don't compare one person with other. You may have suffered betrayal previously, and I can understand that. And I have suffered too because of narrative from my own parents. You want to comment on that, Rajiv?
Well, these are just slogans. Don't learn from one, apply one. Of course, we know all that, but there is something called learning, something called becoming smart, something called experience teaches you what to do more, what to do less, uh, what questions to ask. So now, when I get about 100 emails a week offering to help, I mean, I ask them, give me details on what you will do, explain whether you have done it before or you will be doing it for the first time, quantify the resources and the milestones for delivery, and where will those resources come from? Do you have them? Because if you're just giving me ideas and I'm supposed to stop what I'm doing and start doing something else, that's not helpful. That we're not looking for that. Believe me, hardly 5% even respond when you ask them to be specific. So you learn how to tell nonsense from sincerity. I get so many people saying, okay, I'll translate all your works into Hindi. Take a specific example. 9 out of 10 cannot respond when I write to them saying, give me a sample of what you have done already. Because if you haven't done anything, then why are you bothering to tell me? How much time will you spend, and how many pages a day can you do? Can you read the Kindle of one of my books and translate the first 10 pages as a sample and send it to us? Tell us how long it took. We will have it evaluated. What is the cost requirement? Are you doing it for free? Are you volunteering? etc., etc. Now, anyone who's serious would know the answer to these questions. Otherwise, why are they wasting time? But 9 out of 10, when you ask them specific questions, they don't even write back to you. So, we have a lot of complete nonsensical people. So this guy can say, you had bad experience with this. Okay, so I've had a lot of people like him over the years become the filters working for me. Such a person joins my organization, and we say, okay, all my 100 emails a week, I'll send them to you. You filter them. I won't filter them. You filter them. And you bring me the 5 that are good. You worry about the other 95. Okay, I don't want to waste my time. You take all of them seriously because I don't have time. And then you bring to me the ones that are serious, and then you will manage those projects and you'll be accountable. Believe me, those who become such filters and volunteers, in 3 to 6 months they quit, because and I can give you many such examples, because they learn the hard way of the quackery and the fraud and the fake helpers out there. So unless you have, I would tell this gentleman, unless you have actually gone out and worked with such offers and such people who are talking and talking, you have no right to tell me, because I am the product of my experience. I just went last weekend to a city in the United States I won't name. My friends called me. They're very good people. They all, when somebody said, Rajiv has got these projects, who want to help? A lot of people wake their heads up. So I told the camera guy, capture all their faces. And I asked them one by one, what's your name? You're on camera. How much are you giving? Okay, what are you going to do? How many hours a day are you giving? And I have a whole lot of these guys. Now it has been 10 days, 15 days. I think out of 25 people, 3 of them even responded. And I have a guy chasing them down. They won't even respond, because in that moment, they felt very proud. They wanted the whole world to know I'm this great Hindu activist and the camera is on me. And so, I'm going to stand up and announce my candidacy as a great provider of solutions. This is all heroism and, all this kind of jingoism that we are full of. But it is dangerous and harmful to our society, because they don't actually do what they promise. Many of them have never done this before. They just show up for these meetings because they get a free dinner or a free samosa and chai and some limelight, and they show up for these gatherings. But I must say that I find it very difficult to get people to actually perform and do what they said they will do.
Right. There was another question from Yuri Bezmenov. I missed it. I will get it there with it. But you said something very, very important, and that is about the emotional high people feel in a moment. But we have to weed the emotional high to the real stuff. As that's in our work, we do that all the time, and we ask the CEOs and C-suite people, you know what change you need. Are you committed to doing so? So only when they commit to doing so, because then it takes whatever you have to do, you got to do that. So, that's what is important. So I totally agree with you on that. We will switch to other questions.
Yes,
Rajiv,
so I will take leave, and Vibhuti ji, I've really enjoyed this. Let's do this on a regular basis. And
yes.
Vijaya, thanks for your involvement in all the work we are doing together. And thanks to all the listeners who've been going to be asking some important questions. I just have another engagement. I'll get going,
Yes.
and we'll be back and do more of these in the future.
We will
Namaste.
do more of these, because I'm a sincere believer in narrative building.
Yes,
Because if
yes.
we don't build our own narrative, somebody else does it for us.
Yes.
And then
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Rajiv ji. Thank you very
you.
much. So, Vijay ji, we will continue our conversation. One of the things which I want to definitely talk about is right now in your book, you have talked about the collusion or the teaming of the billionaires versus the wokes. So, wokes have become the tool of the billionaires to carry on their message. And in a lighter vein, but a serious thought, I always say that I see these billionaires who are using the wokes as the James Bond villains, as we see in many James Bond movies. They want to change the world. They want the world to be like they want to be. What is this teaming up all about? Is it the collusion of the opportunists, or is it the collusion against the common enemy that Sanatan brings about? Because I will just clarify that, what I mean by that. In this era of science and technology, that we are seeing right now. Sanatan is the way forward, and our Sanatan principles can be the savior of the world. So right now we are seeing COVID blast, what has happened. We see wars, we see all kinds of technology domination of the mindset, the behavior. Where does this collusion between the wokes and the billionaires, who is it targeted towards?
So it's not just a an attack on Sanatanis or on Dharma. In fact, Vivek Ramaswamy is an American
Yes.
Indian American author who's written a very good book called Woke Inc. And he talks about how in 2008, when the financial crisis happened, the Wall Street essentially paid the woke crowd, said we will support you as long as you turn your backs away from the big banks and Wall Street. So it was kind of a hush money that was given in the form of supporting woke ideas and policies like DEI and ESG and all of that we see in the corporate workplace today. So it's a globalist agenda. It's not necessarily so. Our Indian business people are also very successful on a global scale, and this is the agenda of all globalists, regardless of whether they are Indian, Hindu, or American, or Western. So they in America also, you see a lot of business people have dual standards. On one side, they criticize America for BLM or something like that. On the other side, they are quiet about the Uyghur Muslim issue in China because they want the Chinese business. So they're not going to criticize China at all, while they criticize the US so much for human rights. So let's face it, we know where China stands on human rights and where the US stands on human rights. Yes, there are terrible things going on in the US, but it's nothing compared to most places in the world. So Nike, the NCA, the basketball NBA, and all these people, right, they have dual standards for how they operate in the US and how they operate in China. And so this is essentially virtue signaling. Now, our billionaires also, in fact, in our book we write that maybe they do not know or they're not aware of it, but we also say that maybe it's kind of a hush money to keep to virtue signal A, and then number two, to keep the woke crowd at bay. So if you see what Godrej does in terms of Godrej Culture Club, the aggressive marketing of their kind of LGBTQ, we are all for respecting the LGBTQ community, and India has always had a place for people with different sexual orientation within society. And we are not, our religion doesn't tell us that these are demonic practices or any of that. But Godrej takes on the Western idea of LGBTQ and promotes it in a big way. We have a whole section of how Godrej has come up with sort of a manifesto on how corporate HR policy should be in order to be trans friendly. And with that, they suggest things like the corporation should pay for surgeries of all kinds, cosmetic surgeries of all kinds. The corporation should have special transportation services for the LGBTQ community. The corporation should actually lower standards in hiring because LGBT community is very marginalized, and they should actually lower the standards. So these kinds of extreme policies is what Godrej has come up with and is promoting it to other Indian multinationals. So there is clearly something that's going on where they are actively promoting the woke agenda when it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. But what it is like Vivek Ramaswamy says, is that they have bought them out. So the left usually is against capitalism and always is keeping an eye on how capitalists are making money at the expense of society. So this is one way of keeping the woke away, turning a blind eye to other things. And that's why many corporations do it. They have this double standard. Now, what is even more important from this is that we should not let corporations decide what is good environmental policy, what is social justice, because they are not in any position. They are not the government. They are not the arbiters of these kinds of issues on public policy. So all the more reason that people should wake up and tell companies that your job is to make money, so go do it, and that's your fiduciary responsibility. Don't get into these other things. In fact, in the book we mentioned just a paragraph maybe in the last part about how religious there's a the World Economic Forum had a guy who spun off into a different nonprofit called the it's called the Foundation for Religious Freedom in Business, RFBF. Yeah, and this the guy who runs it is a guy from the seminary, and he wants to go to India, like to India, and woo companies like Tata and Reliance, and tell them that as part of your ESG strategy, you have to encourage employees to bring their religion to work. They have to bring their whole self to work, which means bringing their religious self to work and wear it on their sleeve and practice religion at work. So a company should encourage people to bring religion to work. And this sounds great, but what this would mean is Abrahamic faiths can then practice their religion, which means proselytize on corporate time and on corporate money. And guess who stands to lose when this happens? So corporations now will become the new churches, and this is a dangerous thing. And so this is where this whole thing is heading. And in the name of equity and ESG, all of this, they are saying that companies should encourage people to bring their religion to work and express and practice their religion at work. So these are all dangerous things that are coming to India, and our business leaders are just turning a blind eye. And so apart from social justice issues and environmental issues, you have Abrahamic faiths also making their way in through the corporation on corporate money and corporate time, and then the Hindus essentially get impacted. So this is how this whole thing is going.
Yeah, you have said it very beautifully in your book. You have in page 869 or so, barbarians at India's gate.
Right.
You define it very well with a graph and a picture. So viewers, listeners, get the Kindle and read the book. It's remarkably simple to follow the book. Let me tell you, it's a very readable book. Now,
yeah, it's like a ready reckoner. We made it's so
Yeah.
easy to read because it was a large book, and it's like a ready reckoner with a lot of figures. And if you don't want to read fully, you can look at the diagrams and then figure out, okay, this section sounds interesting, let me read a little bit more. And you don't have to read it sort of chronologically and sequentially. You can just sort of jump from one chapter to another, and they're all really not related.
No, for example, Rajiv ji referred to that chapter 23, that is the conclusion, and how the Davos pundits and Davos people and World Economic Forum is controlling the whole thing. Davos chairman Klaus himself made a statement a few days ago saying that Chinese system is the best system and the real new economic order is coming, and you have already detailed it here. My question here is again very important. Like I noticed that a few days ago, all of it is to corner India in a different way, because we are a happy hunting ground for ages, for all kinds of activities, whether it is a conversion, whether it is domination, or stealing our knowledge base, or everything else. My thing is that, Sam Pitroda made a statement a few days ago. I mean, I don't know exactly when, but he said that when we come back to power, the first thing we will do is to remove the Hindutva people from the government and position of power. So sometimes I feel that it is against us Hindus and Sanatani. The whole battle of the Abrahamic faith is probably towards us, because we actually, with the help of science and technology, offer a genuine solution to the problems of the world. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. But the global left is really well organized, well funded, institutionalized. So the Indians that are affiliated with the global left, will aid the leftists globally into into India in these kinds of breaking India activities. So the fact that India is a hunting ground is absolutely right. The South Asian studies departments have been doing it for eons now. When they do it to the English, so we've been doing it for Sanskrit, and the translations of our ancient texts have all been maligned, and now this is happening even in the English language, which is sort of surprising to the Western, classical educators and conservatives, because this is a new phenomenon which has sort of ricocheted and come back to attack America at its very core. And it's sad to see this happen in the US as well. But there are lots of things that the American conservatives actually can learn from what's happened in South Asian studies, and the things that have happened to India, and and Indology, and because it's been the Europeans have been at it for a while. Now the American academics have also been at it for a while, and a lot of these breaking India forces that you see and the scholarship that you see, you will find that a lot of Indians are behind it, even in America. And these same Indians are now also participating in in advancing critical race theory and some of the Marxist ideas of Pierre Bourdieu and things like that. And having this black Dalit nexus is also a problem for America, because again, India gives American academics so many scholars that they can train on these subjects. So there is not just things that they can mine from India, but just our people are very good at English, are trained well in social sciences, so you have an army of scholars that can be used to dismantle American institutions as well, which is how we should try and build bridges with conservatives worldwide that Rajiv ji was talking about, because it's a problem for everyone, and it's important that conservatives everywhere have mutual respect, and and we respect each other's institutions, cultures. We want them to survive, and therefore we should build these partnerships with conservatives elsewhere, because it's just not an individual American problem or it's an Indian problem. It's a worldwide problem, and what happens in India actually affects America as well. I think many people are waking up to that.
That's absolutely correct. And one of the things which I want to request the viewers, like everything begins with an individual act. Rajiv Malhotra, Vijaya Lakshmi ji, these are individual acts that had resulted in the production of a gigantic book, Snake in the Ganga. So at an individual level, I will take the cue from Vijaya ji when she said South Asian. I totally dislike that word, South Asian.
Absolutely.
Because it completely destroys my identity. And I was arguing with some people a few days ago. I have never heard any American call himself North American. I have never heard a Chinese call himself a Southeast Asian.
Right.
Never heard a Korean talk about being a Southeast Asian. Why are we, this Indian subcontinent, surrendering their individual identity, our dharma, our Sanatan principles, to a word called South Asia, where the rest of the countries don't care a damn about it? So I would say that we must begin to assert ourselves at that granular level, reject the designation of us as South Asians. We are not. We are Indians.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I only mentioned South Asian because the departments are called South Asian. So,
yeah.
But I absolutely 100% agree with what you said about the erasure of the word Indian and even dharma, things like that, and just giving a South Asian identity. And that's again goes back to your point about who controls the narrative. Whoever controls the narrative even ends up controlling how you get labeled. Ends up also telling you what your identity should be.
That's right, should be. Yeah, that's right. And I always say that in terms of should, so many things should happen, but they don't. Mm-hmm. So let's not succumb to the temptation of should, because it's easiest to say, you should do this, which essentially means I don't need to, but you should. Vijayaji, we can keep on talking because this is a very, very important subject matter. And Rajiv, we said that we will talk again
Yeah.
because this narrative needs to be conveyed again and again, discussed over and over again. So I have one, statement from Rocky. He says, Vibhuti sir, please pass message to Rajiv sir. I will get to him with specifics. I will prepare the specifics and get to him. I get where he is coming. It's not always about money. Sometimes it's for preservation. That's all right. Thank you very much, Rocky, for your comment. If there are any more comments, please come back on this. Uh, you know, want to thank you very much,
Thank you so
Vijayaji.
much for having us.
Sorry once again for the inordinate delay that happened in the starting, but appreciate your patience. Patience pays. And today the viewers have benefited. Viewers, please like, subscribe both Jaipur Dialogue and Jaipur Dialogue USA because we are trying to build the narrative that is important for all of us. It can't happen from one, it has to happen from more, and we have to do it more and more. So support us every which way possible. Thank you very much,
Thank
Vijayaji.
you.
I
Namaste.
always say, Satyameva Jayate, truth must prevail.
Thank you for all the
Thank
great
you.
work you're doing. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome.